Malley, you raised something I want to raise with Governor Jindal, and that is something the Democrats are going to talk a lot about. Voters still aren't really sure of who Mitt Romney is, and this week there were two major articles, Vanity Fair, Associated Press, taking a look at his fortune, and as you pointed out, he had a secret company in Bermuda. Not a lot of Americans have that. 12 offshore tax haven funds in the Cayman Islands, and that Swiss bank account. Let me go to Governor Jindal. Is it fair for voters to consider, Governor, what Mitt Romney does with his money outside the United States?
Terry, I definitely want to answer that question. A couple of things I just want to, again, correct.
No.
Look, you heard my friend Governor Malley. I will get to that question, but look, Governor Malley, he's talked about President Bush several times now. That election was 8 years ago. This election, this is a choice between President Obama, his failed policies, and Governor Romney. This past week, David Axelrod tried to run against President Nixon. This is not about the past. This is about the future. Secondly, this Congress, Governor Malley is angry at Congress. He needs to be angry at the American people. They elected this Congress to stop some of these Obama policies.
What about
and this Congress, by the way, has passed policies about more domestic energy production. They passed policies to say regulations that cost our country over $100 million should come in front of them. They passed policies to rein in the NLRB. In terms of Governor Romney's financial success, I'm happy he's a successful businessman. We've got a president today who's never run a business, never run anything, including a lemonade stand before he was president of the United States. We can't afford 4 more years of on-the-job training. Look, the bottom line is I'm thrilled that Mitt Romney has been successful in the private sector.
But what about his money out of the country?
Is
it okay for voters to consider the amount of money that he's put out of the country in tax havens offshore, in secret Bermuda companies? Does that make sense for voters to consider?
Look, I think voters will consider all of the distractions thrown out by the Obama campaign, but at the end of the day, this election is about two fundamental choices. It's about President Obama, who wants to continue to spend money we don't have. He incurred now $1 trillion plus deficit every year he's been president, after he promised we'd cut the deficit in half. By the end of his first term, he hadn't done that. Promised unemployment would be below 8%, hadn't done that. Promised he'd reform the entitlement programs, hasn't done that. We're going the way of Europe. You may have noticed a couple of weeks ago, the German finance minister actually lectured the American president about borrowing. He said, don't tell us what to do until you get your house in order. It's pretty embarrassing when the Europeans are telling us we're spending and borrowing too much. So there'll be a lot of distractions from the Obama campaign, but this is about two fundamental choices.
Got it. So Governor O'Malley, it is a distraction according to the Republicans. This is really just sand in the eyes of the American voter.
Oh, it's not a distraction at all. Look,
what's the relevance? What's the relevance?
The relevance is this, that Governor Romney can't claim that his state actually was great at creating jobs when he was governor, so he's fallen back and said, look, vote for me. I was a businessman. I created jobs. You want to talk about going the way of Europe? What went the way of Europe were the Swiss bank accounts and the American dollars that Mitt Romney stuffed in that offshore Swiss bank account, jobs that he facilitated companies in moving offshore out of places like Ohio, out of Pennsylvania and Maryland. I mean, this is a fundamental disagreement between two different candidates and their vision for our country's future. Barack Obama believes enough in our country to be willing to work for and invest in it. Mitt Romney bets against America. He bet against America when he put his money in Swiss bank accounts and tax havens and shelters, and also set up the secret company, the shell company in Bermuda, which, by the way, in order to avoid disclosure, he put in his wife's name right before he became governor of Massachusetts. These are legitimate questions that a man who is holding himself out as wanting to lead our country forward needs to answer. He doesn't have an economic policy, and his track record in business was to offshore American jobs and to set up secret bank accounts offshore to shelter his own fair share of paying taxes to make our country stronger.